was a kid and I saw Britney Spears on the TV, and I just thought, like, this is it. I want to do that. I want to be a singer. And it's been something that's always followed me throughout my life, as well as art, as well as drawing and painting. And as I've gotten older, especially when I was a teenager, there were so many things in my life that made me feel like it was never going to happen for me. I think I was very deeply insecure, and I just generally hated myself, and I didn't know how to accept or love who I was. I thought that who I was wrong. A lot of that was because I would compare myself to other people, and I'd compare my timing to other people. And I think it's so common to see somebody younger than you achieve something that you've always wanted to achieve, and then you're sort of like, oh god, I've expired, or my time is never going to come because they're younger and they've already sort of taken up this space. And I feel like that is a misconception that I held on to for a long time, was that if somebody else is doing what I want to do, it means that there's less for me, there's less space for me, they're taking up more resources, and there's not enough for me. And it's just not true. I've found throughout my life that it's not true. When I decided that I was going to take music seriously and I was going to carve my own path, not out of wanting what somebody else had, but out of finding what I wanted and what was authentically going to bring me joy, that wasn't rooted in jealousy or competitiveness, but rooted in authenticity and self-love. And I'm telling you, it's brought me to places in my life I never thought possible, but ultimately it brought me into my own timing. Even today, I still look at other people's lives and I think to myself, oh my gosh, when am I gonna finish the things that I'm doing? When is this next project gonna happen? When am I gonna, be on to my next big thing? And I think as artists, we're bound to that feeling. That feeling comes every single time we finish something. And it is important to stop and look at how far you've come. But even if you haven't started that journey yet, I think that it's really important to remember that you can have an intention and you can plant seeds, but you still have to wait for them to grow. And I know that's frustrating. God knows I know that's frustrating. I feel like I was in the dark when I first began my music journey. I had no belief that it was going to work out for me, but in the back of my head, and even when I saw Britney Spears for the first time, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I think I was really serious about that because it followed me my whole life. I was like, I want to be a performer. I want to be on a stage and I want to be performing. When I'm on stage and I'm performing, I am stepping into this energy that feels incredibly empowering. And it's what I live for. It's why I do it. It's why I do it. That feeling of being on the stage and getting that rush, and there's a thing that we all have that anchors us into what we do, that keeps us wanting more, whether it's coming up with a really good idea or painting a really nice picture that we look at and we're just like, oh yeah, that's really good. And we're always going to get the itch after completing that or doing that, where we're like, I have to do it again, I have to do it better, I have to develop this. And I think that that's totally sacred. But in terms of, like, I suppose if we're talking about success and things like that, right? Or if it's like even just having the thing that gets you that success, like a band or certain collaborative partnerships and things like that, I feel like it's always going to get frustratingly lonely, and it's going to feel like no one is, there for your vision or sees your vision or sees your potential. And going back to what I was saying about like how I used to be so insecure and just so self-hating, when I sort of like hit that crossroads of my life where I was like, okay, I'm going to take this seriously. I didn't just take my career seriously, but it was like I was figuring out every single avenue of what could possibly be stopping me, and the biggest thing was myself, and it was because of my self-hatred and my insecurity. And I looked into where that came from, you know, because the thing is like our insecurity, the way that we see ourselves, self-hatred, all of that, it's not real. Like, even if it feels real, even if other people have made it feel real for us, it's not real. You know, our perception shapes everything about our lives. And if we can like find the root cause, and I found my root cause, you know, a lot of it was other people's projections onto me, bullying and things like that. Having bad role models, you know, watching TV, you know, things that I would see in media or movies that I thought were normal when they weren't. And I think that in the culture here in Aotearoa, it is very much that sort of vibe of like, you know, there's like tall poppy syndrome, and sometimes people can like, you know, feel weird about people trying. We have really high depression rates here. And I think it's just totally normal for you to hate yourself here for some reason. But I knew that if I was going to take my career seriously, I had to figure out what was blocking my way. And a lot of it was self-hatred. Because it's not just about like hating yourself and being like, oh, I'm so bad at making music. It's not just about that. It's all of the things that come with self-hatred, and like the sort of company you keep, the sort of relationships you get into, how much control you allow your friends to have over the decisions that you make, you know, your family. A lot of it stems from you and how you feel about yourself, and you know, what you think you deserve. And I feel like once you figure those things out and you carve your own path and you carve the way, and you don't let anything stop you, no people, no thought processes, self-limiting beliefs, nothing, you let nothing stop you, and you trust that the timing of your life will unfold the way that it needs to after that. And what I tell people is like, you have to be delusional about it, you know. You have to trust through and through that despite thinking that other people are taking opportunities because they're doing what you want to do, or that other people could do it better than you, that it doesn't mean anything about who you are and what you could possibly produce in this world. It's just a feeling, and all that feeling is telling you is that you want something. And it's because you're passionate. And I said this to somebody recently. They're like, if you feel that way about somebody else, it's because you care. And if you didn't care about doing this, if you didn't care about your career or your music, whatever you're doing, you wouldn't feel that way about that person. You wouldn't feel jealous or competitive towards them. You feel that way because you care about it, because you're passionate, and it's just misdirected passion. And that mindset has gotten me so far in life, you know, and there's still so much I want to do with my life. But at this point, when I look back on all of the times that I wanted to rush, that I was so mad at the world, mad at myself, mad at my circumstances for not being what I wanted it to be at the time, worried that I was never going to do it, worried that other people already were doing it, so there's no point in me even trying. And how everything ended up working out anyway. It's totally normal to feel these sorts of things because we care. We really, really care. And that care has to extend into patience and into that self-service of like, okay, I've put my dream out there. I've accepted it. I've chosen my dream. And now my dream is going to choose me back. And that's just the way that it is. I don't care if people think I'm delusional about it. This is my life now. This is what I choose. And it will choose me back. Because I say so. Because it will. And it does. And the hardest part after that is just having patience. And knowing that if you're worried about the timing of your life, and you're worried if it's going to pass you by, and you're worried because you're looking at everybody else's life and their timing, right? Your time will come. It will come. There is space for you. There's space for everyone. I believed that there wasn't space for me. I remember being so incredibly jealous because of how insecure I was. You know, I was so self-hating. I would just compare myself to everyone, right? And I just convinced myself that it wasn't for me, you know. And years ago, that was something that I was sort of told was like trusting the timing of my life, you know. And yes, it was grueling, it was frustrating, and I just remember so many times wanting to give up, you know. Like, it wasn't a linear process. I remember there were times where I would go for walks up by my house, like before I put together my band, and I would just sit there and I'd just cry, and I'd just be like, it's not meant for me. It's not meant for me. It's not meant for me. But something always brought me back. And I was talking to my partner the other day, and I said to him, it was just some like random fear that I was having, and I was like, oh, you know, like if this happened, I think that I'd just give up the whole thing. And he looks at me and he's like, no, you won't. And I was like, oh, actually, you're right about that. I won't. Like, and I tell people often, like, no one can stop me, not even myself. I really couldn't stop if I tried. Not only am I too far into it, but I'm just so committed to it, because I just carry that delusion of, because I choose it, it chooses me, you know. And I think that we're born with passions that get nurtured in childhood, and we either abandon them, or we think that it's not possible to, you know, live a life coinciding with them, which is ridiculous. You know, it's like, oh, well, you're gonna get a stable job, and oh, well, I have these commitments, and oh, well, you know, are you happy? Are you happy though? You know, like, you can do both. And the thing is like, when you're an artist, which I think everyone at some capacity is a creator, but when you live and breathe that artistry, you have to honor the difference between you and somebody that is completely happy living a traditional life. You know, there are going to be things that are different about you, and one of the main things is that it is so incredibly important to have a relationship with your inner child. And you think about what children are like when, like, we're talking about being patient. They want things now, you know, they want that instant gratification. And that's where we come in as adults, or as older versions of ourselves, to guide that inner child, to nurture it, you know, to give it playtime, to be able to just have fun and create things without pressure of having to contribute to a bigger project, but just to have fun. And that's the thing that we want most, right? We want to be happy. We want to have that fulfillment and feel that fulfillment of being creative and being satisfied with what we create. And I don't think that we can have that without having an honest and authentic relationship with our inner child, where they feel safe, where they feel seen, understood, heard, and nurtured in their creative self-expression, in your creative self-expression, which is so important when it comes to, you know, your career or your life, the way that you integrate your artistry into your life. And then it doesn't become about timing and being patient. It becomes all about having fun and feeling the fulfillment from being a creative being. And when you're living that kind of life, nothing else matters. And your time will come, and you'll be able to express yourself the way that you want to, but it's going to feel the most fulfilling if it is authentically you. It's going to be the most rewarding and going to be the most fun if it is authentic to you. I feel like that was a really big ramble, and that I might have gone on a bit of a tangent. But as always, I really hope that this video helped, and I'll see you in the next one.